We will continue tonight with secondary coach Willie Martinez. To ask a question to Coach Martinez, please hit the raise your hand function. We'll start with David Pascal, then we'll go to Ben McHugh.
Hey, Willie, you're obviously familiar with this offense in practice. What is the proper number of defensive backs you'd like to carry on this roster? Is it a minimum of like 12 given two sets of 6 DBs? I was just kind of curious the number of DBs you would ideally like to carry on this roster, and has that changed in your 20 years since you first got in the SEC?
I'm going to act serious when I answer the question. I'll take 20 to 24. You need a lot of them. Yeah, it's changed. You got to have guys that obviously got to be able to cover, because there's so many. They're always the offense. Whether this offense or any offense, they're looking for mismatches. You got to be able to run. You got to be athletic. You can't be one dimensional. Meaning you just can't be a one position guy. You can't just be a nickel. You just can't be a corner, and have a weakness to your game. You can't, you can't line up at corners and say, I'll take this guy because he can cover really well, but he can't tackle very well, because you're going to be exposed. So the more athletic you are in the defense, now it doesn't just have to be defensive backs, your linebackers, and then your D linemen. D linemen make a lot of the plays that you may not think that that have an effect on types of styles of offense that the tempo teams. Because you're creating quick decisions, by the offense. Instead of sitting there patting the ball and have a little bit more time. So to answer the question, you got to have at least, you start off by, you have to be able to play when you want to 6 defensive backs, 6 guys that can actually cover, play man. That's on the field when you want it. Ideally, it's probably more like 5. Okay, where you're playing with it depends on what you're playing too, because we're so multiple. We're playing 3-4, we're playing a 4-3. The more multiple you are on defense now, I think where you can have the same personnel on the field but give you all different kinds of looks. I think that's an advantage. That's something that we're looking at and we're evaluating every day, guys that we can keep on the field but be multiple in positions. I like to have a lot, at least 3 deep at each position on the back end. I think everybody on our defense would like that, starts up front.
And has that changed real quick since you first got in the SEC as far as numbers?
Yes, absolutely. Because you want more. Again, you want guys that can play multiple positions. Okay, a defensive end is just not a rush end. He's also a strong end, because they're going to flip the formations. They're going to go and manipulate the formations to get who they want to attack, because they're weak at one thing or another. So the more multiple, the more athletic you are at every single position, the better chance you have of defending, these offenses.
Willie, just what have been your early impressions of your group, and kind of what are you emphasizing as spring practice moves along?
I think the guys in the back end have been very locked in, so to speak. I just noticed how they pay attention to detail. It's important to them. It's not a big group. It's not, we don't have the numbers there. I guess you can say that about everybody on our team, but having guys like Alontae Taylor, who have a tremendous amount of experience, have been here. Theo Jackson, just naming 2 guys that have obviously been here for a while, and they do the things how you want them done off the field. And when you have that kind of leadership, I don't care what room it is, you have a chance, because they're good players and they know how to get things done, both on and off the field.
David Oven and Jimmy Himes.
Well, who are some guys that you feel like have stood out so far for you in the first 6 practices of spring?
You talking about on the back end?
Yeah, and at corner.
Obviously we're still evaluating, and to be able to signal out one guy, because I think each guy at each position has really had some okay days, and then obviously improvement. I could say that about every position, whether it's corner, whether it's the nickel star position. or the safeties, so to signal out one guy, again, I'll go back and what I just said, you know what I mean? I like their mindset. I like how they're locked in. It seems, it's important to them. I don't know how good we are, but as long as they're paying attention to details and what they do off the field matters, when they get on the field. That's really what I'm the effort, the attitude, the communication. Those are the things you're kind of, evaluating right now that you want to see on a consistent basis. And it's not perfect. I know that. We all know that, but the intentions are there. And, we just went through our sixth practice, maybe a little sluggish today, started slow, finished strong, and in parts of it, so we still don't know how to grasp, going from, period 1 all the way through period 20, how many periods we have, 25, so trying to show some consistencies in each period, it's trying to get over the part, if you did start off slow, just like a first quarter, you know what I mean? Being able to find a way to continue to work at it and look for ways to succeed on the back end of it or in the fourth quarter, like we like to say there at the end of practice.
Willie, there seem to be wide receivers that are getting taller and taller. Do you try to recruit taller cornerbacks?
Yes, just in general, length. Like you want to start off with length. And that was Jimmy, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Jimmy. It's you got to be able to match up. If you go, not that we wouldn't recruit a smaller defensive back that's obviously talented and has all the things that, if you are going to go, if you're going to not go a longer DB or a taller DB, then that guy better have all the intangibles. He better be able to run. He better be able to explosive tackle, jump, be athletic enough to make a bunch of plays when the ball's in the air. But you got to be able to match up though, because I'll just take, for instance, our offense. They're going to be long on the outside. They're going to be trying to get the mismatches on smaller corners. Can't do that. You know what I mean? You got to be able to be very effective in the 50-50 balls. And that's really what's going to come down to. You got to be able to change the momentum of the game. You got to be able to catch the ball, not bat the ball down. You got to be tall enough. Obviously, you got to be athletic enough to jump and challenge that. And you got to come down with the ball. Because bottom line, if you don't get the turnovers, you're never really going to change the momentum of the game. The PBUs of the days. There's times the PBU is really good. Obviously, you're knocking the ball down because you couldn't catch it on a fourth down. But shoot third down now, you got to get ready for fourth down, so it's not even, it's no longer coaching just to get the third down and get that done. You got to go play 4 downs. It doesn't matter where you're at in the field. So you have to have the proper matchups so that you don't get mismatched, because a guy is not big enough, not fast enough. But it's not just corners, Jimmy, you really want, we try and recruit defensive backs that are very, very similar in their size. Try not to recruit a guy that is just a cover guy, and like I said earlier, you know what I mean? If he can't tackle, we're in trouble. If he's a really good tackler and can't cover, we're going to be in trouble because these offenses will find the mismatches. They'll manipulate the formations. They'll motion to the weakness of a personnel. And so you have to be somebody that's very multiple, like I said earlier, that can run, that can hit at every position. And then obviously you're not going to be perfect in some spots. You're going to be weak. There's some weaknesses here or there. Then you got to be able to schematically, make some adjustments to give these kids a chance to succeed.
And what skill set are you looking for at the star position?
Again, he's going to be in a slot. He's going to be probably covering the fastest, receiver. So he's got to be able to cover. He's got to be able to have good cover skills. But at the same time, too, he's got to be able to be enough physicalness to him that if they're running those wide receiver screens, those bubble screens, so to speak, he's got to be able to tackle, in space and be disruptive. He has to be a really good blitzer. I would say, again, he's going to be covering the best player probably on the offense. So he's got to have the cover skills.
Patrick Brown, then Brent Hubbs.
Hey, Willie, the last time we talked to you, you mentioned you had recruited Danico Slaughter when you were at UCF. What did you like about him as a prospect? And did you say he kind of dodged you when you got here? Is that what you kind of said because he picked Tennessee? Or kind of what do you call that about his recruitment?
Well, I don't know if I said that. I guess I was kidding around. I had said that somehow, I've had a couple guys like, I'll go back to Brian Randolph. I was at a school that I wanted Brian, and he ended up coming to Tennessee. I think you guys know who I'm talking about. And then I was blessed enough to come here the first time and got a chance to coach a really great player and somebody that I really liked, really wanted at the other school. Nico was a kid that obviously started recruiting late in the process at the old school, and I loved his athleticism. I loved his speed. I loved his personality. And now coming here, I just been very blessed to get the opportunity to coach a guy that I like. It's like anybody, you know what I mean? When you go recruit people that you like, and you've got a little bit more understanding of who he is, it's exciting. But he's athletic. Basically he has the skill sets that I'm saying right now. He's somebody that can cover. He's very multiple. He can play probably any position on the back end. And I'm talking about corner, star, nickel, safety. He can tackle. He's physical. He can cover. He's got some speed. He's smart. He's got a great personality hey, look, let's go on to the next play. He does really well with disappointment, with some mistakes. So I know he's young and he's still got to develop, but those are pretty good skills. Those are pretty good personalities to have, traits.
Willie, two things. One, you've talked about being multiple on defense. Where are you guys in installing this defensive system across the board, in particular in the back end? And then two, what maybe has surprised you the most about this group through 6 practices?
We're still trying to evaluate what we do best. When I said we're multiple, we're not locked into one scheme. Obviously Coach Banks and a lot of the coaches on the defensive side of the ball have had tremendous experience and ideas and the ideas that we would come up with. We're kind of putting it all together, and trying to figure out too the strengths and weaknesses, of the personnel that we have and where can we go with it. But we really don't know what we're going to do, from a standpoint of what we're going to lean on, we're going to do more of. But we will be multiple, and we've done that so far, whether we're playing, split safety defenses, single high defenses, pressure, whether we're playing 3 down, whether we're playing 4 down, we're doing it all. So, and just trying to figure out what we have, what's the strengths and weaknesses of our personnel. I'm sorry, your second question was?
Just what has surprised you? Has anything surprised you the most about this group, but positively or even maybe something, I don't want to say negative, but surprised you about this group overall?
Okay, I'll go back and what I said earlier. I've been impressed with how they've adjusted to us, okay, meaning our staff. Anything we've really given them, they haven't really, pushed back. They've actually been all in. They've been it's important to them. They haven't been perfect, but their energy, their enthusiasm, their attention to detail, has been spot on. About the best you can actually ask for in what they've been through. You know what I mean? All the changes. It's not easy. I've been there before on their part as a player, and understanding it. So I think their attitude's been really good. And I think that, again, I have a good group standpoint of the defensive backs. We've got some experience, got some really good attitudes. And again, I think that's really helped.
Last 2 questions, Eric Kane and Trey Wallace.
Hey, Willie, I'm sure there are several, but who are some of those guys that are practicing right now at that star position? I would assume Theo Jackson is probably the leader of that group. And another thing, Tamari McDonald, what have you seen from McDonald so far early in spring?
We've been really using a lot of guys at the star position. We've been really moving guys around to try and see their skill set, trying what they. We've moved corners. We've tried. Theo's been there. Nico's been there. Jalen McCullough's been there. Tamarian has been there. We've put some corners at that spot. Again, because of our lack of our depth, we've moved guys around. A, to really see what they can do, and then B, obviously to save some of these guys' legs too on their reps. We have a long practice. There's a lot of reps that these guys take, and trying to be very conscious of how many they take is very important for us to stay healthy. Tamarian's done a good job. I would say he's really come on the last couple of practices. Started off slow, and whether that's because trying to learn the defense and the terminology, the new terminology, but he's got a good attitude. But he's really come on the last couple of practices. He's made some really good plays. And again, he's somebody that, like I just said to you, we've given some reps at the star position as well as the safety position.
Thank you.
We'll finish it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Bill. Willie, when you look at the defense as a whole, and I know you're coaching your group, but going up against this style of offense and practice and how fast it is, how would you say your group and maybe as a defense as a whole has come along over the first 6 practices, especially going up against, an offense that's going every 5 to 6 seconds?
Yeah, I think they've done a really good job. I'm not saying that just to say it, but I've been at places where, guys, I think we've done a really good job from trying to prepare them of what the expectations are going to be, how fast it was going to be. Obviously in our off-season conditioning, just trying to prepare them to the thought process. Look, it's going to happen really fast. So we were doing some exercises prior to it, whether you're in the meeting room and wanting one answer question, a question. When you're asked a question, they're one word answers, I guess, so to speak, because that's how you have to communicate on the field. Can't be long answers. And today we were just coming off the field right now, and it really was going really fast because we had a 2-minute drill, and they got to process stuff really quick, communicate it, get the signals off the sideline, and then got to be able to communicate it, and we like to say, look, you got to get back to your spot when that play's over with. If the ball's on the hash, you know what I mean? That's why we play right corner, left safety, right safety, you know what I mean? We're very multiple in how we line up because you have to be that way, and you got to be able to know it all. You got to be able to play both sides, strong and weak, and because it's going to go fast. Now, if you're just a person that's going to, line up strong side, weak side, or whatever, you're in trouble. And they've adapted and adjusted pretty good with that. I mean, by no means are we there. There was just some frustration the last couple of practices when the tempo goes really fast, absolutely. But it's been mainly the ones that are inexperienced, you know what I mean, and trying to look around, looking for help. And really, the help's not going to be there, buddy. Just got to get lined up and kind of have short memory, hit the reset button, and go on to the next play. You know what I mean? Don't let the last play beat you. Just like if the play was really good. You know what I mean? And I kind of said it earlier to you. You guys asked me questions. What has it changed from before and now? Before, you get yourself in that third down and get them in third down and long, right? And get off the field. Well, now third down and long is really not third down and long. Depending on where you're on the field, that third down and 10, the offense might look at it as a third down and 5 situation. You get 5 yards because we're going forward on 4th and 5, So you got to continue to apply the pressure, be very multiple in what the thought process might be. And really the players got to understand that they're going to go for it on 4th down. So don't celebrate pass breakups and tackles on 1st and 2nd and 3rd down. Get yourself to your spot, so to speak. Get yourself prepared, right? Because you might think you might be getting on the field. These guys are going warp speed, and they're getting lined up and getting ready to. And that's really where you get hurt is that guys think that the series is going to be over, and not really. So get yourself in a play routine. We like to say, identify the first thing when that play's over with. Get your eyes on the sideline. Identify that down and distance first and foremost, and then find out what the call is, so that you can sit there and decipher and have some kind of an idea in about 5 to 10 seconds when they line up in this formation based off our call, what was it that we've been game planning for to find out the strengths and weaknesses, you know what I mean? I know I'm probably talking too much but that's really what that, you know, and they're doing a pretty good job of it. It's not where it needs to be, but definitely it's improving.
Thank you, Coach, for your time.